Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. So for today's video, I have some fall decor pieces, and I also have some pieces that you can use around your house all year round, whether you're into farmhouse, boho, whatever you're into. This video is sponsored by ShopTagger, and I mention them a lot because I genuinely do love using them, especially for major purchases, gifts, and things that I don't want to pay full price for. So let me show you how to use ShopTagger and we'll get right into the video. On Google Chrome, you're going to want to go on shoptagger.com. The link will be in my description, and you're going to want to sign up to get this little widget right here. You can shop directly from shoptagger.com. Just check out the stores. It shows you all the stores that are available and all the stores that you're eligible to earn cash back. That's a new feature that they have. So let's say I'm shopping on Target. It'll automatically tell me that I can earn 1% cash back. And if I do end up shopping here, then I will get my 1% via PayPal. So the way that ShopTagger works is that once you pick an item, you're gonna click on the widget and it's gonna let you save this. So I usually have them notify me of any price change, and it'll notify me either by text or email, whatever I choose, and then I add it to a list. I can create my list here directly or to one that I've already created. And these lists are shareable, so if you're creating a wish list, this is perfect. You can also make the list on the website. And the cool thing is that when you're ready to check out, ShopTagger will look for coupon codes so that you can get an even better deal on the item, so you're always getting the most bang for your buck. A big thank you to ShopTagger for sponsoring today's video. The link will be in my description, so check them out. And before we get started, I want to remind you to please hit that subscribe button. Once you subscribe, we instantly become best friends.
Did we just become best friends? Yep!
And hit that notification bell. Make sure that they're set to all. YouTube may or may not let you know when I post a video. In case they don't, follow me on Instagram. I always post what I'm up to, and let's go ahead and get started. For the first craft, I'm going to be using these candle holders from Dollar Tree. I know that these are a little difficult to find, so you can recreate the same craft using the glass ones that they have all year round. Stacked candle holders are nothing new in the DIY community, so I'm just figuring out how I'm going to stack them. And to attach them, I can either use the super glue from Dollar Tree or E6000. I will link that little key below. Now I'm going to do a mix of E6000 and hot glue, so I'm just leaving a little bit of gap and then filling it in with hot glue and adding a dollop in the middle for that instant hold. Once I've placed my other candle holder on top, I'm going to wait till it dries, and I'm going to take my sanding sponge and just try and remove any glue that's seeped out. Now, you can skip this step if you're super neat, but some glue did seep out for me. Once you're done, do wipe this down with a damp rag so that you're not spray painting over a ton of dust. Just a heads up, these shiny ones do not spray paint well, so please consider using chalk paint instead of spray paint. This is a spray paint I used. It's by Krylon. It's a paint and primer in one, and it covers pretty well. But like I said, that little one, the one that's shiny, does tend to crack when you spray paint it. I don't mean that it breaks, it just has these little ripples in the paint. So consider sanding that one down if those are the ones that you can find. This is what it looks like, and if you feel uncomfortable with the gaps, you can always fill them in. I should have filled them in before. I'm going to use some foam up top because I want to be able to use this every season. So I don't want to hot glue anything onto the candle holder itself. So I'm just cutting down little wedges of the foam and adding them to the top. I'm not hot gluing them. And then I grabbed these bouquets from Dollar Tree. For each candle holder, I used one. I'm just going to cut this down and create a little wreath. This is where the foam comes in handy. I just start piercing my stems in there. Like I said, you can hot glue it onto the candle holder itself, or you can hot glue it onto your piece of foam. But this way I can just pop it off and add some Christmas colors to this for Christmas, or add some spooky colors for Halloween. Now you can go ahead and place a pumpkin up top. You can add a candle, a small candle, a large candle, whatever you want. If you're using this for Halloween, you can add a little skull. If your candle is too short, you can always just flip it over and add another one up top. I know it would bother some people to see the crease, so you can always tie a little ribbon around there if you don't like the look. This is the final product, and I love it. I think it looks very high-end, very Pottery Barn. For this next one, I'm going to be using the foam pumpkin. Now I do a pumpkin tutorial every year. I'm just going to remove the stem and then I'm going to do the same thing I always do, which is put a little skewer through it and use a foam brush to paint it. It makes your life so much easier because you can actually paint around the entire pumpkin without touching it, and the foam brush gets into all of the crevices. If you haven't already seen my previous pumpkin makeovers, I will link them below. I always do 3 different styles, but for this one, I wanted to go as simple as possible because I've gotten really lazy with changing my decor. So I think just keeping it white it is for this year. Now, same as every video, I'm going to add the skewer to a little piece of foam, and this time I kept the actual bag on it so the foam doesn't fly anywhere. And take your brush and wrap it in saran wrap or put it in a bag so that when you go to give a second coat, it is still nice and wet. Now, this is from the other tutorials. I'm going to use some air dry modeling clay, even though I heard that Dollar Tree does have modeling clay this year. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it out into a ball, and then I'm going to roll it out into a cigar shape, making sure that the end is pointed, and then curling it in however I want. I have more detailed instructions on all the other videos, but since I do these so often, I'm just giving a quick overview. Before you set it to dry, put it on your pumpkin to make sure that it fits nicely. Curl it in, let it dry completely, and then spray paint it or paint it whatever color you want. When you're done, you're left with these beautiful stems. And like I said, if you want more details, then go ahead and watch my other videos. I show you how I actually shape them. Now that the pumpkins are completely dry, I did go ahead and do 3, and I'm going to put away the piece of foam just like that. I'm going to use some hot glue to attach this. I never use E6000 on these. Foam does tend to melt with certain glues, so hot glue it is. You can also add a little skewer or toothpick while the stem is still wet, so just pop it in there. That's up to you. So I'm going to show you how I style these. I took some of these ceramic pumpkins from Dollar Tree and I painted them white, and I'm going to show you how I would use them on a mantle, even though I'm not doing this on a mantle. I'm going to grab some greenery. This is from Michael's, but if you go to a thrift store, there is plenty of greenery for cheap, and instead of cutting it so that I can reuse it, I'm just going to cut this side right here, and I'm going to lay it out. So I used 2 of these to make it nice and full, and then I added my pumpkins up top. Next, I grabbed these pillar candles from Dollar Tree. Make sure you're paying attention to the color because they come in white, off-white, and of course red. You can't really confuse red, but the white and off-white actually look pretty similar, so make sure that you are paying attention. I also grabbed these LED tapered lights. Now, I didn't add them to a candle holder, so the only advice I can give you is to add some poster tack to the bottom. And then I used these picks. They come in a pack of 3, also found at Dollar Tree, and just popped them in there. Found these shorter votive candles from Dollar Tree. This is just to add different height, and do note that I do not plan on lighting these. These are just for decor, and this is how it looks. You can add this to a mantle or as a centerpiece for a dining table. For this next one, I'm going to be using the Dollar Tree pizza pan. Now, I am going to sand it down because I do plan on spray painting it. What I've noticed with the pizza pans is that if you don't sand it, then whenever you spray paint, it will scratch off. So make sure you get the front, the back, and the sides, anywhere where you know it's going to rub up on something, because you don't want your spray paint to scratch off. Just like before, make sure that you take a wet rag or sponge to wipe it down when you're done, and then spray paint it. I used the same Krylon Fusion. I did the back first, let it dry really well, and then I flipped it over and did the front. Be patient with this because if you flip it over too soon, you are going to mess up the paint on the back. So just be patient, give it some time, and then flip it over and do the front. Now that this is completely dry, I'm going to set it aside and I'm going to move on to the borders. Now for the border, what I'm going to use are these Dollar Tree snakes. Now I'm going to need 4 of these, and if you want more ideas on what to do with this, TheCraftyDIYGuy actually sent me a picture of how he used them, and he also created a DIY video, which I will link below, so make sure to check him out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the tail and the head. So make sure that you're cutting right here. Now, instead of cutting with the snake face up, you're going to want to tilt it to its side so that you have less space to cut, if that makes any sense. By the way, this is just a little Dollar Tree hacksaw. You don't need to run to Home Depot or anything like that. You can save this little piece for another craft. Now, when I cut off the tail, I am most definitely saving the tail because I am going to use them in our next craft. So set those to the side, and now what you're going to do is you're going to count the amount of little ridges. There's 44 in total, so once you get to 22, that is where you're going to cut. Now before you make your cut, just double check that you are at the 22nd ridge, and then make your cut. To help keep these in place, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree rubber bands. If you have rubber bands from anywhere, it'll work. I just always say Dollar Tree so you know where I got it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand the bottom a little bit. If you have a sander, cool. If not, your sanding sponge will work. You just kind of want to straighten it a tiny bit. And then I'm going to place my rubber band. You can place it a little higher if this is a little too curved. It's up to you. I do end up moving my rubber bands a little bit higher when it's time to place them all over the tray. One thing to note is that these snakes are not all the same size. Most of the things that are made from wood from Dollar Tree are not the same size. So just keep that in mind when you're creating. It's never going to be completely perfect, and that's totally okay. So like I said, I used 8 of these in total. For some reason, I'm only showing 6 here, but I definitely do use 8. And when I start to place them on the tray, that's when I realize that I should move the rubber band just a little bit higher so that it's not too curved. Also, for the size of the pizza pan, I do leave a tiny gap in between each snake because 8 is a little too short and 9 is a little too much. So you'll see in just a second how I have a little gap in between each of them. Now, normally I would recommend drilling these into place and using a nail. I always use my drill, but this time I'm going to make my life a little bit easier. Because of this gap and because I don't have an exact location, I did it the lazy way and I added some glue and a mix of hot glue to let it hold in place. These aren't actual handles, this is just a border, so I have no actual intention on lifting this tray up. This is just decorative, but if you do want to lift it up, then definitely make your mark, drill a hole at the bottom of the tray, and then drill pilot holes into the little wooden pieces. Just make sure that your screw is really small so that you don't split your wood. And I would recommend doing the hole on the pizza pan before you paint it. Make sure it's completely dry before you remove your rubber bands, and this is what it looks like. I love it. It looks so high end, and it's a really nice size. Now, because I hate letting anything go to waste, I'm going to use the little tails that we just cut off from those snakes. This is just a way to get my money's worth, and I'm going to use my mini saw. I will link it below if it's available. Last time it wasn't. So since these are all different sizes, I'm going to mark them down to get an even size, and then I'm going to cut them down. Because these are angled, be careful how you cut them, because if you clamp them, then they do end up cutting at a weird angle. So I'm going to sand it down once I'm done. And I'm also going to make sure that I sand down the sides because there is some writing, which I'm pretty sure it just says Greenbrier, but you don't want that on your little piece of wood. You also want it to look nice and neat. For the top piece, you can either use one of these little wood round pieces from Dollar Tree. They're in the Crafter Square section. I'm going to go ahead and save this for another tutorial because I'm going to use a candle lid. A lot of them come with these beautiful round pieces and I like to save them. So I'm going to grab the Dollar Tree super glue and I'm just going to check my position first and then add a little bit of the wood glue and let it dry completely. Once it's dry, just flip it over and you can put whatever you want on it, a candle, pumpkin, skull, whatever you want. And for a craft that is pretty much free since you were probably going to throw away those little tails anyway, I love how we turned something or nothing into something. So that's it for me. I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know in the comments below which one is your favorite, which one you'll be recreating. And as usual, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. And don't forget to check out Shop Tagger. The link will be in my description and I will hopefully see you on the next one.